define as your work as having other people do whatever it is that you need to have done. That's the better worker than somebody who has to actually do the work. Okay? We've equated, and through this we have taught our children that thinking, that school stuff is work. The smartest child in the class isn't the one with the best thinking skills. The smartest child in the class is the one with the best memory. So we have taught our children to equate schoolwork, thinking, with something they don't want to do because they don't want to do work. Which is understandable. Again, it's not their fault. And this has brought about a process which I call diseducation, which means that we have going on 3 generations of people who reject the idea of having to think. They do the schoolwork remote, wrote, answer this, go home, study, come back. Don't ask me after the test, but I'm still going to study for the test. But to teach them to think, and to think about this, when I came across a study in Chicago where these 2 brothers looked at some young black males, and it was way back when I was in junior high school, who were in junior high school, and they compared a group that had dropped out with a group that was still in. And they found that the high IQ scores, even though we know IQ scores are irrelevant, the IQ scores of those who dropped out was higher than those that stayed in. Because they refused to stop thinking. We are segregation, sub-integration, sub-assimilation, sub-amalgamation. Focus. Say sub. Integration is supposed to be, by definition, that you have 2 groups and they come together, they bring their best qualities, and they come together as equals. It doesn't mean one group comes in and is brought under the other. And don't get a white boy tempted to wear locks as an indicator that you can integrate into society. That's sub-integration. I don't use the word integration anymore. I don't use the word assimilation anymore. I don't use the word amalgamation because it is sub to the European norm, to the European power. Ronnie. Ronnie made me go from cassettes to CDs. Yeah, that's a good example of how they move you in a certain direction. Because I fought CDs to no end. I didn't buy no CDs. You know, they get scratched or above. But Ronnie came out with an album and only came out on CDs. That was the end of that discussion. Children as shields, which is the most damaging statement to us. There was a movie that came out, it was based on a Stephen King novel, and I'm not advocating Stephen King because his writing is some of the most racist writing that I've ever come across. He has a story in Nightmares and Dreamscapes about this black woman who's a maid, and when you come to that story, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It turned my stomach. But the story was about this guy who, something happened to him where he lost his memory, but he realized that he had a job to do, and his job was to somehow keep this guy who was running for the presidency from becoming president because he was going to start a war that would destroy everything. So he ended up following the guy, and then they were in a church. The guy was going to give a speech in the church, and the guy who needed to stop him had a rifle, and he was up in the pews at the top, and he was getting ready to shoot him, and somebody saw gun, and they killed him. But what got the job done was this candidate, when he heard gun, he picked up a child and put the child in front of him as a shield, and that was the picture that made it to the newspaper. Of course, he didn't become president. This is what we do. And think about it. We're using our children as shield because we know that if we do not, Europeans will kill us. They're not going to hold the child responsible for being taught to be a warrior. They're going to hold you responsible. And we're afraid of that. We're afraid of what they're going to do to us as a result of training our children to be wise, training our children into their power. So we're using our children as shields against them. Even on a physical level. If you're at war, how could you let your children play in an area where people can access them? where people can shoot them. But brother, why would we let our women be in a position where they can get shot? We do some of the dumbest stuff in the name of chivalry. You open up the door, I get this example 1,000 times, you open up the door for her, trying to be the gentleman, you let her out, she gets shot. You're supposed to walk out that door first. If she don't understand that, to me, that's her problem. I open up the door for Inayah, I step out, I look left, right, I check, and then I hold the door for her as she walks by me. I'm still holding the door for her. Then you have to act like you're at war, and the soldier's job, the warrior's job, sorry, soldier's a misnomer. The warrior's job is to protect the people in the community. Warriors are servants. You're not in a position to exploit because you have more military might or you're stronger around. Your job is to protect the elders, the women, even though women are warriors too, and the children. That's your job. That's your first and foremost priority, to make sure that they are protected. There's no excuse. There should never be a time when a brother's walking down the street with his complement and somebody can walk between them. That should never happen. There should never be a time where you're coming out of a store and her door is away from the store, so she's got to walk around the car. And me, I'm not big on holding the car door open for her. Because my job is to make sure that she can take her time getting in the car without any issues, so any sound, any movement around, that's my job to observe. Once she's in the car and I know she's safe, then I can get in the car. This should be normal, standard, second nature operating procedure for us. Yes, it did. It used to be. My mother never got upset because my father didn't hold the door for her. Because she understood he was doing his job. If you're going to get to her, you got to get to me first. In the contradiction, I love this, in the contradiction of our people, the bedroom is set up in such a way, the room is built in such a way that the bed is up against the wall. She sleeps up against the wall. She has to wake him up in order to get out of bed and go to the bathroom. If you want to get to her, you got to get to him. And I didn't understand, we call Africanisms, things that we get carried through our genetic structure on. I never understood. Well, no, I didn't understand. I really put a lot of thought in it, but I wondered. My father always slept on the side of the bed that was closest to the door. And I was doing that too once I got married, and I didn't think about it. But I understood why. In order for you to get to her, you have to get through me. And if you get through me, then you got to deal with her. And they know the power of our women. When I was coming up, women carried 22s in their diseases.